Welcome to Healing the Patriarchy with Love podcast. I'm your host Luna, and together we're becoming rebels of the heart, one show at a time. Hello, rebels of the heart. Welcome back. It's nice to have you back here again with me. It's Luna here. And today I want to do a very special episode for you because today I want to celebrate Samhain, or Halloween if you prefer, with all of you. So it's not actually Halloween today. I'm recording a little bit ahead of time just so that it can definitely be uploaded and out and ready for you all in time. But we are already starting to feel the descent into winter. So it's only a few days out from Halloween. So I've kind of still captured the energy, and the energy is still here. So what I wanted to do was celebrate my ancestors with you. And of course, you can celebrate your own in your own way if you want to. So I'm kind of leaving this space open so that if you want to, you can, light candles, make altars to your ancestors in spirit. You can call them in if you want. And if I'm just letting you know as well ahead of time, that's what I'm going to do, so that if you are the sort of person that likes to have protection because that makes you feel safe and reassured, or that's just your practice, then I'm giving you a chance to sort of pause this and go and do that now in whatever way you do it. Because what I have here with me is a book from my ancestors. So it's an heirloom that has been passed down to me. And I'm so grateful that it has been passed down to me, because what it actually contains is the channeled writings from my ancestors who, when they were alive, held seances, what would have been called seances back then. And they channeled messages from spirit into a notepad. And then they gave that to my maternal granddad, and my maternal granddad gifted it to me. And now today I'm going to share some of the writings in it with you as a gift to you and to celebrate what they did in doing that. So this is just kind of like you can pause the podcast. If you want to come back to it another time, you can download it. So that will give you a chance to kind of gather anything that you like to have in a space. If there's, kind of ancestors in spirit are going to be with us. I can attest for them all. They're all very nice, so you don't need to be frightened. But I know that some people find this kind of thing a little bit unsettling. So I'm just giving you the opportunity to prepare in whatever way you want to. And again, you might even like to be in like a nice gentle space anyway, just to kind of receive some of this, okay? So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about them because it feels rude to have them all. They're all here with me. I've got them in a circle, or the ones that pertain to what I'm going to do here today are in a circle with me now. So I'm not going to go around and introduce names or anything like that, because I can be really clairaudient with lots of things like angels and things, but I'm not very clairaudient with my ancestors, which is so frustrating to me. I think there might be a block because I'm a little bit scared because, there's been so much abuse in our ancestry. So it might be that, I don't know. But for whatever reason, I'm not that clairaudient, so I can't give you all of their names. Although I just heard John and Mary. They're quite typical names, though, aren't they? I'm now suspicious. Are you sure that's your name? Shout up. I have also got my dad here with me just because he's become my guide, and he's become my guide through a practice of forgiveness that I have had to go through with him that has taken 5 years to do. That's how tricky the path of forgiveness was for me. And I'm going to do a separate episode at some point about that, but he's here with me just because he's my guide. So he's not kind of part of that lineage, but he's here. So the lineage that I'm talking about is my maternal lineage. And it's interesting because I've forgiven my paternal lineage. That kind of the work of that has been done. And that's what I'll talk to you all about in another episode. But now I'm on with the maternal lineage. So it's interesting that my guidance has brought me to this book and to celebrate them and thank them today in this podcast, because I'm sure that will be forming part of the forgiveness path that I am now on with them. So if you listen to my episode, and you don't have to have listened to this, but you might like to, if you hang on a minute, just one moment. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I've just, when something just, okay, I'm sorry about that. I think I think it might be the ancestors. They're like, something just flashed up on my laptop, and I thought that Zoom had stopped recording, but it hasn't. So I think it was actually just my maternal granddad saying hello. So thank you, Fred. He is the naughty one. He's the mischievous one. I need you to behave today, right? This is not like the old days where you had a notepad and pen. This is electronic, right? Don't mess with the laptop. Thank you very much. Sorry. Don't know what's going on there. Sorry. Okay, so if you listen to my episode entitled My Story, My Background, and what led me to do this podcast, then you will know that I have had a very long history of abuse that has only just fairly recently ended, and that history of abuse ran through both maternal and paternal ancestry. Now, I mentioned that, pockets of kindness prevented me from following on that path or becoming a narcissist. And those pockets of kindness often came from my maternal granddad. So he's called Fred. He's here with us today, and he's the one that was being mischievous, and he's going to stop it right now. I can just tell that he's up to no good. Back it in. He was a joker, you see. So he was a bit of a joker. But he was always just a little bit kind to me, and he could see what was happening. And although he didn't intervene as such, he offered me a little bit of softness and kindness every now and again, and that really meant a lot to me. And then when I got older, our soul contract together was that he would lead me to my soul, so that I would begin, being consciously aware of myself as a healer. And that was quite difficult for him because I had so much trauma. So I didn't feel safe to connect with parts of myself. And when you've got trauma, you've got a lot of blocks because you've got to get through the trauma before you can get to your true self, right? So it was a difficult task, and he tried a lot of different ways. And it began really when I was very little. And I remember, this is quite funny. So I used to go to a friend's house. And again, this was another pocket of kindness for me. And their parents were a bit kind of relaxed, which was great. I loved it because it was stark contrast to how my parents were. And they basically used to have loads of videos, and they had loads of James Bond videos, which, arguably weren't really that suitable. I was very young. I must have been about 7, maybe even it was younger when we started watching. I'm not sure, but probably at least 7 or 8, I would say. And they used to put James Bond videos on. That and Star Wars. Star Wars, not so bad. James Bond, few little moments in it that, perhaps aren't really suitable for children. But irrespective, they put it on, and I'm glad that they did, because one of the things that was on one of the episodes, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's basically the one that has the high priestess that's doing the tarot cards. And I remember in front of everybody just declaring in the middle of the room, as you do, I said, "Oh, I know what she's doing. I want those cards. I've had them in the past." So of course I come from a really strict Catholic family. It was like, oh my God. And it was kind of decided that the devil was in me and needed to be, taken out of me in horrible ways, and I must be punished, and that side of me must be shut down. And I'd already had a lot of my very intuitive, sensitive, spiritual side shut down already at this point. And that was like, the nail in the coffin type thing. And then my granddad found out about it. And so I just remember him taking me into the kitchen. He's like, yeah, come and help me make a brew. Come on. I went into the kitchen, and he's like, listen, he's like, you don't need tarot cards. You can do it yourself. And you can get messages anyway yourself. You just need to be open to them. but also you can use playing cards and I can teach you. And he's like, tell them you want playing cards for Christmas. And I was like, oh no, I don't know what to do. I'm so scared. And he was scared because he knew, there'd been quite a big reaction to this declaration of mine. I mean, I literally remember my dad telling me that it was the devil. He's nodding and laughing. Yes, it's funny now, but it wasn't back then. And anyway, they cottoned on, and I never got, quite often I didn't get very much at all for Christmas, and I know that was common for a lot of people, but I mean, I really am talking, sometimes I didn't get anything really at all, other than, a satsuma and an apple, literally, which, at least I got something, but, was quite a disappointment, surrounded by very spoiled people that have lots of very nice gifts and things. So I didn't get these cards. And so my granddad then had to start trying to be a bit more inventive in how he kind of connected me to spirituality and my soul. And so then he himself started going back to the spiritualist church, and he was a medium and a healer. And both of his parents were also healers and mediums within the spiritual church community. And my great auntie was also a spiritualist and quite a well-known medium within the spiritualist church. And so both my maternal grandfather and my maternal grandmother, both of their sets of family were spiritualists. So this book comes from my maternal grandfather and his parents. Okay. But they were all into it. So they were all kind of working really on a soul level as a group to trailblaze, so that I can, just come and do a podcast about this with you now without being murdered. Because back then, when my great grandparents were doing this, they were risking their lives to do it. And I think we sometimes forget, because now it's all over the internet. And you can go on YouTube and find videos about spirituality with tarot card readings, all, transmissions, meditation, all kinds of things. They did not have that privilege. My great grandparents hid in the attic to do this work. That tells you how frightened they were and how much of a risk it was. They weren't doing that for the sake of it. They're all nodding. Yay! Well done. Thank you. So, when we think about how far we've had to come and how much we've had to trailblaze, and if you go back to that moment where, my parents, particularly my dad, were really frightened. I think they were actually frightened by my light, if I'm totally honest. But, they were frightened about me wanting those cards and what that meant. So you can see that that's actually a hangover. And as part of me coming and doing this work and doing a podcast is actually clearing all of that and saying, no, we don't do that anymore. In essence, it's transforming our ancestry and our lineage. So thank you. If you're listening, thank you so much for being the witnesses to this, because it's really important actually that my ancestors book does get witnesses. So, if this kind of you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, my friend would love this, please, please, please let them know. This is not like a self-promotion. This is because the importance of the work is that my ancestors get witnessed. And so I'm going to do my best to help them to be witnessed today through this podcast. And if you'll be so kind as to help too, I'd be very grateful. Okay, so I think that is enough about the ancestry. I don't want to kind of go on and on about it, even though it's about them, because I don't want to bore you. And really, it's about getting them witnessed. So what I've done, I've got the notebook with me. It's really cute, and they've got such beautiful handwriting. I mean, I barely could learn to write in school, and I'm not kind of left or right-handed, because I was left-handed, but the Catholic school used to punish me for writing with my right hand. So, and I'm not ambidextrous because I'm autistic. So I've got dyspraxia as well. So I don't have the hand-eye coordination to be able to, stop writing with my left hand and then write with my right. So I don't write very well with either. But my ancestors' handwriting is beautiful. It's so soft, and it's really, and it's really quite feminine. even though some of it was written by John. Yeah, John. I believe my ancestor's called John. Right, it's saying he is. Okay, so John. Thanks, John. He wrote it, so his handwriting is beautiful. So I can tell, like sometimes you can tell people's personality or more accurately their mood through the handwriting. I don't actually think it's the personality. I think it's the mood, because handwriting changes, doesn't it? Well, his is this very gentle, soft handwriting. I'm just trying to give you a flavour. And the book is, when it's been white, but it's gone like a parched colour. It's that, and I love it. I really love it. I love that it's this parched colour. I think it's just so beautiful. Okay, so what I've done is a bit like with tarot or oracle cards. I've just intuitively, before I began, just put a bookmark into a space. It's 2 spaces, actually. So I'm going to read this to you. It says November the 8th. Oh, so we're actually quite near the date that it was that they wrote it. That's interesting, isn't it? Now let me try and read this writing. I might go a bit quiet because I'm having to kind of lean into the light. I'm leaning into the light of the book. So I'm a little bit away from the microphone. So you might need to turn it up. Okay, so they were channeling. I bring friend with power unto you. We work together. You would call him priest, Moralango. So they're like, the spirit it's called automatic writing, or you can think of it as channeling. The spirit is like using the body of my ancestor to actually write this. Nice handwriting. It is with a great joy that I come, for there are more things that we must engage in other than this, your world. I have been privileged to visit other planes and have met many higher spirits or souls in my travels. You have a division on your earth plane, but the only thing that will cause division is the lack of desire to fuse upon this the spirit side of life. Many carry their past thoughts of life with them and try to live them out over again. They are therefore bound by such desires. It is only when we are given the opportunity to show unto them the error of their ways, and if they wilt respond to the influence, then our work is not in vain. It is so much like the working of goodness on your earth, but in a spiritual sense. Your guide Mombo will operate. This is a pleasure to be allowed to return, but I shall tell you of my travels. I have been taken to new pastures for a little while, far away from the work that I loved so much. At first it was not so pleasant to me. Everything was so quiet, and I did not see anybody or soul. This was a new state that I was to get accustomed to before I would be of any service, but it was a land of flowers, and by the perfume of the flowers and roses, knowledge came, for life is as varied as these flowers. Some of these souls were like sunflowers, strong, and from these masters I was taught many lessons of the love of the Great Spirit. Now I will remain with you, that we may be helpful to some who so desires to be uplifted in spirit. May the light of the eternal peace shine upon you all. Wow, what a message of love and unity. So they were actually channeling messages from spirit that kind of almost are like paving the way for healing the patriarchy with love, because what he's talking about there is not having division. In other words, having unity. So he's talking about unity and heart-centered consciousness, and okay, it's coming through the filter of my ancestors and their generation and their era and the way that they spoke, because whenever we channel, it still comes through the filter of us, particularly when we're starting out. Wow. But yeah, that's just a message of love, isn't it? It's a message of being one with the Great Spirit, the universe, with God, however you like to think of it. Yeah, I love that. God, that's so good. I mean, I might come back and read some more, but I've only got 2 today. Okay, so I'm just opening the next page of this wonderful notebook, this gift of mine. Oh, gosh, now this writing is very faint. Let's just have a look at what this says. It's very faint. It's beautiful. This writing is absolutely gorgeous. I wish I wrote like this. Right, it says, oh, do you know what? It's a poem. I knew they wrote some poems in here, but I didn't know. So this is a poem. And do you know what? You probably won't even flipping believe me, but just before I came and did this, I wrote a poem about the seasons, and it looks like it's a poem about the seasons. Oh, let me read this to you. It doesn't have a title. It just says, when autumn tints the leaves with gold and flowers droop their heads, the gift to us is manyfold. They are asleep, not dead. A lesson there for all to learn. How do they back to life return? The spirit dormant seems to lie, but only to the passers-by. Shall I read that again? Because I'm a bit stumbled. When autumn tints the leaves with gold and flowers droop their heads, the gift to us is manyfold. They are asleep, not dead. A lesson there for all to learn. How do they back to life return? The spirit dormant seems to lie, but only to the passers-by. Wow, wow, wow. I just wrote a poem that, I mean, it's not the same, but it's very similar. It's about kind of letting things die and then return. And it's so similar. I'm going to read it out. I'm going to end up reading this. I don't know if I've got it with me in the room, so I'll have to do a separate podcast with it, but I'll do another episode after this and I'll read it out for you all. Okay. Or maybe before this, because I want to read this on Halloween. Okay. So, and then on the next page, there's just a few little notes. Oh, do you know what? It's signed JS. So that must be John, because my granddad's surname was Smith, so it must be John Smith. Please. How plain. They're laughing. I had to look up then. I thought, oh, they're not insulted, are they? Person who covers their defects by luminous is a moral coward. Well, yeah. Truth. Like they're actually on about narcissists there, aren't they, really? Like the false self, the false person, really. Like, yeah. Life is like a band. Each can play a different instrument and yet live in harmony. Oh, yes, yes, ancestors. We do not help others unless we seemingly suffer ourselves. No, unless we genuinely suffer ourselves. Oh, ancestors, I'm not having that. This is a new dawn, okay? This is the ascension. We don't need to suffer. Yeah, it can be difficult, it can be challenging, but we don't need to genuinely suffer. Thank you very much. But thank you for that wisdom, because that just shows that is what they healed so that we could ascend and have this gift now. Each good deed of the past is a brick towards our future dwelling place. Oh my God, mic drop. Whatever it is that you say. Tell I'm not very cool. Wow, that is like, oh, I love that one. Ancestors, I might use that one. Can I use it? Yes, they're saying yes. I might use that one. Like, I can see a website coming and that can be on the top. Each good deed of the past is a brick towards our future dwelling place. Truth. If all as children we could be and fault in others could not see, then we would live in harmony. Let's try it. Oh, that's kind of like, that's funny, because I've been doing, if you've been following my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Luna Louise Anna, I've just been doing, like, I wrote a little bit about a breakthrough that I'd had with my own inner child, and I sort of feel like this is a lot of people replied, and I feel like it's where we're all at the moment, is kind of connecting to the innocence within. And through connecting with that, we then heal trauma, and we start to connect with our true self, because our true self is purity and innocence. Sorry, I've just turned the page. I'm really fascinated by the kind of rhymey, poemy type stuff. A mountain, though, it's hard to climb. A beauty will to conquer a show, as when we reach the end of time, we'll see things clearer here below. What that means. Wow. The troubles that beset us here, if taken with a smiling face, are handrails to a higher sphere where sorrow cannot find a place. So let us get together, let us win the fight. Let us storm the weather, let us all unite. Oh my God. Ooh, a prayer is just a waste of words unless it's from the heart. Yeah. Oh, this is John again. Oh my God, I'm not joking. Within this notebook, they can't have had this. This must have come from me, but I've never owned these ever. There's star sequins all down the middle of this page. There's like little star sequins. I don't own them. I don't do like that kind of crafty stuff, and they won't have owned star sequins, will they? Wow. We have all got work to do as we pass along. Show to others past us new, and do it with a song. It's like the singing of the birds. It must from love impart. If you feel it is your duty, stand alone, don't count the odds. For success you'll find the beauty, flowers, seeds are in the pods, hidden only for a while, waiting ready. Nature's calling in the garden for to smile. Some of it's not quite making sense. I don't know if I'm reading it right, because it's obviously very faded now. I'm actually thinking I need to transcribe this. So, okay. So thank you so much for witnessing my ancestors, and I would love it. I'm going to share this podcast on my Facebook page, which I just mentioned. So if you really want to kind of like leave messages about it, or messages for my ancestors, I would absolutely love that, because they paved the way, not just for me, but for all of us, to have a much more spiritually open and free flowing life without, the fear of persecution or death that they will have had. So if you have any messages of gratitude, or anything you would like to say about the book or the podcast, please go to facebook.com/Luna Louise Anna and leave the comments there. And I do look at comments underneath each podcast, and if there are any that I'm drawn to, my intention is to do a podcast and read them out. So you'll get a little shout out, and your wisdom will be out in the world as well. Okay, so I think we've come to the end for this. Thank you so much for coming and listening. And I know it's been a bit disjointed because of the reading, and I can't read the writing that well. But thank you for coming just to hold space and witness. I really, really appreciate it. And I know my ancestors do, and they're quite excited for this going out. So as I said, please share it, and please let them be witnessed as much as possible. I really am so grateful if you do that. Okay. So lots and lots of love to all of you. Happy Halloween. Have a good one. Okay, darlings, I love you lots. I will be back to read my poem that I wrote just before doing this, so you'll be able to listen to that as well. Okay, darlings, lots of love. Take care now. Bye. You've been listening to the Healing the Patriarchy with Love podcast with Luna Anna. Subscribe and follow to join the tribe of Rebel Hearts.